Welcome to the Bandwidth Tapes. I'm Brad Williams. On this episode, I'm talking with Dylan Stone of the Unfaithful Servants. This band has carved out a sound that dodges labels, tight harmonies, fearless arrangements, and a blend of bluegrass, folk, alt-country, and Americana that lands as one unified voice. On the episode, we dig into the band's story, how Dylan, a singer, songwriter, and guitarist, linked up with mandolinist Jesse Cobb, how a 20-year-old fiddle phenom, Quinn Etheridge-Peddon, lit a fire under the music, and how bassist Mark Johnson became the final puzzle piece. We'll talk about serving the song, building chemistry that you can actually hear on stage, and why they resist the traditional only lane. Their new album, Fallen Angel, out October 17th, captures it all. This is the Unfaithful Servants.
Not the calm down that I don't mind. It's why I go there to leave behind that empty feeling that you get from time to time. I need your love to save my life. All the darkness in our lives is hanging over our heads like the sharpest knife. When I'm with you, baby, you ease the pain. I just wanna hold you before I go away. It's a sign of the times this old wheel keeps rolling. Roll me home before the storm hits. You pick me up when I'm coming down. Don't let me fall, don't let me drown.
Dylan, welcome to the podcast. How's it going today?
Good, man. It's going great.
As we're recording this, you and I are quite a few miles apart from each other.
Yeah, I'm on the west coast of Canada here on Vancouver Island, so it's about as far west as you can get in Canada. I'm looking across the water at the States, though. I can see Washington State across the water here.
That's amazing.
We were just down in Chattanooga for IBMA there.
Okay, cool.
A couple weeks ago, and that was hot. I was not prepared for that. I was not prepared.
Yeah, man, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, so I understand that southeastern heat. There's nothing like it. Yeah, it's hot. How was IBMA?
It was great. It was a ton of fun. I'd never really partaken in an event of that scale before. As far as a music industry event goes, the Canadian ones are a little more humble. So it was just loads of fun, getting to meet, some of our, musical heroes really are just kind of hanging out in the hallway, drinking a coffee or something.
And jam sessions everywhere.
Everywhere. And, just tons of beautiful instruments to play and tons of fantastic musicians everywhere, and just a whole lot of fun. It's an event worth seeing for sure. Just even we were lucky to be able to take in the whole week, right? So we were there kind of immersed in it for about 7 days.
Preparation for the episode, I've been listening to your band, and man, I'm just knocked out. The stuff that you've done before, and then this new project that's about to release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to know about the band, but I guess before that, I'd like to just find out about your musical story, because you're quite a great singer and player and songwriter, and you wear a lot of hats in the band. So yeah, I'd love to know what led you to be where you are as a musician.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I started out when I was probably 13, near Toronto, Ontario. And I was playing in, the music du jour, which was kind of like heavy rock bands.
Yeah.
And I was just a singer. So I had, bands with high school buddies, and we would travel into Toronto for gigs, and, had a bit of, minor success, like, getting gigs in Toronto when you were 13 years old was a big deal.
Sure.
And, but it's funny because at the same time where I was listening to these, heavy metal bands or hardcore bands, I was also really into like Bob Dylan and the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and all this music I grew up in. And so as, my interest in music progressed, I started to gravitate more and more into that, classic rock world of music. I moved out to British Columbia when I was 19, chasing a friend, and there was a strong roots music scene here, which I wasn't exposed to really in Ontario. And then so it was interesting because I was really into rock and roll and rock music. This whole time I was writing tunes the whole way through, and it was kind of the Rolling Stones and Neil Young that introduced me to country music.
I have a good friend that made his way to country music because of the Rolling Stones. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, well, it was Rolling Stones, and then I discovered Graham Parsons.
There you go.
Right?
That was the next name that was about to come out of my mouth. Absolutely, Graham Parsons.
And so that kicked open the door for me into that world of music and that world of songwriting, and then from Graham Parsons, it's a very short ferry ride away to George Jones. So that kind of opened up those doors. And then I also, discovered Townes Van Zandt, which was a huge songwriting inspiration. And so that kind of led to a journey of getting into some of the deeper influences behind the music that I grew up loving, and also on the other side of it, there was the Grateful Dead, which led me into bluegrass.
Yeah.
And so those, through the Grateful Dead, I discovered Old and in the Way. Old and in the Way opened me up to the players that Garcia was playing with on that record, and then that opened me up to the whole David Grisman and Tony Rice world of music. Yeah. And so that, as I am discovering more and more of these music, my writing started to lean into that, Americana folk singer songwriter country stuff more so than the rock stuff.
Yeah.
Which is kind of more of a fruitful place to be as a songwriter in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I could absolutely understand that. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about like the depth of the simplicity in a lot of those songs that allows you to convey a broader image or a deeper perspective than in the context of like rock music.
Yeah.
Not to say you can't do that with that style of music, but for me, it just felt like a bigger palette.
I think about, country songwriters like Harlan Howard or Hank Cochran or those. I mean, they could tell the entire story of someone's life falling apart in 2.5 minutes. It's pretty incredible. There's the range of emotion that they could capture in a lyric in a very simple way, like you said, a couple of verses and a couple of choruses, and that's kind of it, and says it all.
Yeah, but then there's also room where when you look at writers like Townes or Graham or Bob Dylan, they kind of take that form, but then inject these beautiful lyrics into it, and are able to, or Christofferson, these very beautiful poetic phrases, Willie. So it's kind of like the meeting of these two worlds, and it just really gives you a lot of depth in a very impactful way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could immediately hear so much wonderful influence on your songwriting and singing, and I can really hear the influence. And I even hear, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like there are moments in listening to some of your earlier songs from like, this feels a little bit like if Uncle Tupelo was a bluegrass band. It's really nice. Really enjoy it.
I mean, I definitely am. I love Wilco a lot. I think that definitely bleeds through in a lot of stuff, and same with the Neil Young thing. That whole kind of alt country, rock and roll meets country meets grunge.
Yeah.
Worlds. I love all that stuff, and I think it comes through even on the latest single we have, Fallen Angel. It's kind of an interesting song because it doesn't really sit firmly in bluegrass or folk or I find that the Servants are constantly evading like any one specific genre.
I appreciate that, and I think with a lot of bands that is more of an identity crisis, and I don't feel that way at all with your band. It's intentionally wanting to do all of this different music and do it well. Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, and it still all just kind of comes across as one sound.
Yeah,
which is really nice. Which I'm really like proud of this new record, where I feel like it really actually captures the essence of what we're doing in a real honest way. Where it's all pretty raw. Like there's some production, but it's more or less essentially just the sound of the band.
Oh, it's great.
And the sound of the songs, and when you put it all together, it just kind of creates this vibe, and it really came across as a cohesive record and captures sort of the sound of the band.
Yeah.
Which is,
where did you record the album? We
actually converted the bottom floor of our fiddle player's house into a studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds great.
It sounds great. We brought in a good friend and producer, Adrian Dolan. He toured with the Waylon Jennys for a lot of years. Plays in a band called The Bills, really great multi-instrumentalist. He knows us all really well. He knows the band really well. He actually kind of helped us find our current fiddle player when he was playing fiddle with the band for a brief moment. So we set up shop and lived out of Quinn's house for a week, all of us, and he brought all of his gear in. We converted the basement into a studio and lived there for a week and did the album.
Wow, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I always want to ask this about, especially with bands recording projects. Did you walk into the studio with the songs basically ready to record, or was there a lot of evolution to them during the process?
That's the ultimate goal, is to walk in ready to go. We thought we were, but we ended up doing a fair amount of writing and rearranging in the studio. Adrian also produced the record, so we gave him the keys to make some decisions on arrangements. So there was some creative decisions being made as we were, tracking and changing. So, and that's kind of the nature of our band. We're constantly tweaking arrangements and refining the tunes down to like very micro details. So oftentimes we record a song and then the arrangements change pretty quickly after we record it. It's never final. I call some of our tunes, it's like an old classic car or something. Like we're just going under the hood for fun, and kind of it's always changing.
The arrangements are great. Yeah, it's really fun. So I think you and Jesse you guys have been playing together for a while now, right? How long have you been together, and how did you guys meet?
Yeah, so we've been playing together for about 8 years now.
Okay.
And he ties in pretty tightly to my songwriting journey, I would say, because he's one of the greatest musicians I've ever known personally. He's just, it just kind of channels out of his fingers. He's just got the touch. He grew up doing it, and his taste is very much aligned with the things that I like in music, which he's a world-class mandolinist, but he's also got a very rock and roll edge to the way he approaches it.
Yeah.
So yeah, he ended up in Victoria because his wife lived here. His wife's family's from here. They were raising two girls. They wanted to be closer to her family. He was, Jesse was a founding member of the Infamous Stringdusters and was on the road with them for about a decade. And he was in a bit of a crossroads period after he left that band. Ended up in Victoria, and he was playing at a country bar just at a jam night. Someone invited him out. I'd never met him before, and a mutual friend of ours actually said, "You should go check this guy out." So I actually walked into the pub mid solo, and I remember my first thought was before I could even see the stage, I thought, "Wow, that's the most I've ever heard a mandolin sound like a mandolin before."
That's a great way to say it. No, yep.
Yeah, and then he blew me away, and I basically, our joke is that I picked him up in the bar that night and followed him around for a couple of weeks, convincing him to play music with me, and I wore him down eventually. Couple nights closing down the bar rooms together. And what actually ended up happening was I invited him to a recording session of my tunes that we did, and we did an entire album in a day in my friend's kitchen. Richard Moody, a great fiddle player, and Oliver Swain was on bass, and we tracked an album more or less live off the floor that day, and I called it Dylan Stone and the Unfaithful Servants. And from that point on, Jesse and I started playing together, and then the Unfaithful Servants formed around that. And then, back to like the songwriting thing was, starting to work with such a world-class player like Jesse, who was, he can play anything in the world, but he's also, his bread and butter is bluegrass. So I started writing these tunes that kind of suited this sound that I was now, had the privilege of getting to experience firsthand. And, he started teaching me more about bluegrass guitars and rhythms and just that entire world of music. So it kind of greatly influenced my writing to really embrace that kind of roots genre, because I now had this great outlet to kind of create that sound properly,
Yeah. Well, I would imagine that both of you have found this wonderful middle ground of kind of where you came from and where he's come from, and you found this really nice place in the middle that everything that you've loved before you met has kind of bubbled up with this new thing that you guys are doing together.
Yeah, like we don't really put a boundary on what we do. So, anything is on the table. And that's kind of our secret sauce is because Jesse writes these like amazing instrumental tunes. He's a, fantastic instrumentalist, but he writes these really interesting, he was like a big, like Newgrass Revival was his jam. So he has these tunes that are kind of in that camp, very progressive, very edgy, very technical. And so having that in combination with these, solid kind of classic songwriter type tunes that we also give like, heavy arrangement to and heavy instrumentation, it makes for a really diverse. So our shows, it's not all of one thing. There's a lot going on there. So it gives us a real kind of variety to our sound.
Really good, tight vocals too. I've noticed that as well. I was like, man, you all can sing really well together too. It sounds really good.
Yeah, we work hard at it,
Yeah.
What we lack in talent, we make up for in hard work. Because, we're not... we're not stepping up like the Everly Brothers and just have this natural kind of thing built in. We work hard on our parts, and that was our fiddle player has stepped up in a big way. All four of us sing. We kind of all share the load, but our fiddle player Quinn, he kind of is the guy that saved the band a little bit. We made our first record, and we did some stuff with it, but then when COVID happened, right at the beginning, our fiddle player and bass player both left the band. She wanted to have a kid and start a family. And so essentially the band was inactive for about 3 years without having a bass player or a fiddle player. And the biggest setback was just that there's not enough of a talent pool where we live to find somebody that could do what we required of them.
Yeah.
And there's, probably the most renowned fiddle player in this part of the world is Daniel Lapp. And he joined the band for a gig. I got a gig just when the pandemic ended. The local folk club asked me if I wanted to do a feature there. So it wasn't even billed as the Unfaithful Servants. It was just a Dylan Stone gig. And I got Jesse to come out, and Dan Lapp came and played fiddle, and our buddy Alex played bass. And we played a bunch of the old Servants material, and it sort of lit a fire under me and Jesse's ass, being like, hey, maybe we should do this stuff again. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I booked some more gigs, and I got Adrian Dolan, who produced our record, came out and played fiddle because Dan was just too busy. And then when I started getting some festival bookings, I did some festival applications, got a few gigs. And Adrian was quite busy with his front of house work, and just he's a pretty in-demand guy with his recording and all that. So it just he wasn't ready to jump in the tour van and do the thing. But he recommended a 20-year-old kid up island who was relatively unknown to us at the time, Quinn Etheridge-Peddon. And so we invited him out to a rehearsal, and Quinn showed up at the rehearsal and had our entire album nailed down note for note.
What?
At the first rehearsal. And
wow.
Yeah, pretty
what a first impression.
Yeah, big first impression. And Jesse and I got pretty excited. We said, we think this might work. And so that was about 2 years ago. And we've just been on a upward trajectory ever since. And his musicianship has really elevated the band. He's stepped up for vocals. His improvisation is great. He's got his own style going, and he's only 20 years old. So
wow,
it's fun to have a young buck in the band that kind of keeps the fire going under our butts a little bit.
Yeah. What is his background? Is it in this type of music? Does he have a classical background?
He grew up, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but he was he grew up doing like competition fiddle tunes, like Canadian fiddle songs, old time. He also studied under Dan Lapp. So he was one of his students, but he was trained in like Celtic, Irish, and Canadian fiddle music. But he also he fits in well with our group because he didn't stick firmly in traditional music. He went off and kind of did his own thing and wrote his own tunes, and is very much, a jazz guy and an improviser, which suits our tastes really well. So, that's one thing I've been very adamant about with this band is not settling into traditional material. It's kind of expected when, you get labeled as a bluegrass band or you're playing those instruments. And we do all have, a background in traditional music, and we all enjoy lots of traditional music, but it's not really what we do so if we ever do traditional music, it almost kind of feels like posing a little bit or something. And it's just not what we do well. It's like there are bands that do traditional music and that's what they play and they do it really well. And it almost feels like we're just kind of pretending when we do that, and we don't do as great a job of it as people that do it. So I've always made a point of us to kind of not try to come across as a band that does traditional music, because it's just not really what we do. It's not our strength, you know.
Well, I think what you do really well. So I wouldn't recommend changing anything.
Yeah.
Who's your bass player?
Yeah, our bass player, the final piece of the puzzle was Mark Johnson. And he joined shortly after Quinn, about a year and a half ago. And we joked that we have a bit of in Spinal Tap, it's always their drummer that's just discombobulating or exploding or whatever. That was bass players for us. I think we've had 7 bass players in this band. Wow. And Mark was just hiding out. He played in a local bluegrass band, and actually we have a great mutual friend of mine and Jesse's banjo player named Mike Kraft, a guy we both really love playing music with, great banjo player. Recommended Mark Johnson, this guy that he played in a bluegrass group with. And we got in touch with Mark, and right away he fit in perfectly. You know, it's funny because it's like musicianship is the biggest part of the puzzle, but like the almost equal part is like character, personality, how you're actually going to fit in. And you know, our initiation is often to start making some jokes and see the reaction of the people around us. And he immediately started making better jokes than us, so we knew it was going to be a good fit. And and so he's been great. You know, he's a real talented guy. He's got good ears. He's a student of music, and he's very much he bought into being in a band, and what all that means. And it's really great because I've always considered myself really fortunate. I play in a few different groups, and they almost all are like real bands, and the Servants are certainly no exception. Like, we're all buddies. It's not acquaintances. It's not a work relationship. Like, we genuinely just enjoy hanging out with each other, and we all get along really great, and it's just a lot of fun.
It does make the music better. That chemistry off stage does bleed onto the stage. I played in a lot of bands where the hang is as good as the show, and when that happens, the product is always better as a result.
Yeah, it's a common feedback that we get after our concerts, that, wow, you guys just look like you're having so much fun up there, you know, because we just all enjoy each other, and it's great to see. We all love what the other people do musically as well, so it's fun to be up on stage encouraging each other and just being excited to hear what's going to happen and what someone's going to do. And then we have fun before the show, we have fun after the show, and we have fun during the show. You know,
yeah,
what it's all about.
Stand outside my window and you woke me up at dawn. Love is like the wind blows when it's time for moving on. I'm leaning on a memory of times that weren't so strong. Good old days are over, yeah, but are they really gone? What has become of all the little things that used to mean so much? And where have they gone? That used to be so real that you could touch.
I would imagine too, having some new great players in the band probably was a good springboard for your writing too. I imagine it inspired you to maybe, you know, did you stretch out in your writing at all, or did you? What kind of did the inspiration lead to?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's definitely been some bursts of inspiration that have led to written. And actually, Quinn and I have a co-write on the new album called The River, where he just sent me this fiddle thing he'd been working on, and lightning in a bottle inspiration struck, and right away I wrote down this tune based around it, which was really fun to do. So it is, it's inspiring to know that you have guys that can kind of, anything you can come up with, they can handle. I have better concepts of ideas than I do technicalities, where like I'll say something like, no, I want this part to sound like a tornado. And those guys know how to create a musical sound that's like a tornado. So yeah, it's definitely been inspiring and encouraging. I'm actually looking forward to spending some time in the next coming weeks. I'm carving out some specific time to just have some songwriting days and get all the guitars out and just really commit a couple days to writing some new tunes.
That's great.
Got the new album out. Yeah.
I do think that sometimes, whether it's conscious or not, songwriters may write to the limitation of their band, whether that be, instrumental ability or whatever, but how wonderful it is for you to get to write to the possibility of the band instead.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's really exciting.
And it's funny though, because it's like, I have a lot of songs I don't bring to this band, or I wouldn't think of, or if I felt like I was bringing it to the band, it would be like trying to force it, which it's interesting because it's on the one hand where it's kind of exciting to get to write specifically for a band, and that's kind of before the Servants kind of have really started to take over as the main project. It was just nice for me to have this outlet for acoustic style songs. And then I had rock songs, and I had country band as well. So I had all these different outlets for what I could write. But at the end of the day, any song is a good song. So it's almost a handicap if you go in trying to write specifically for one band, because then you're just kind of like trying to force and box yourself in, where maybe, I might write a ballad that day, or who knows, but it could be any type of song that comes out, and it's almost more like I need volume before I find, like, out of 10 songs that I've written, there's one or two that might be good for the Servants.
Yeah.
And then I bring those into them. But that being said, being disciplined in the practice of like sitting down to specifically write for an entire day with the intention of writing for that band, odds are probably more likely if I get a tune, it'll be for that band.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I would imagine, and I'm a player and singer. I'm not a songwriter, but I would imagine that I would have the urge to write for where the band is right now, instead of maybe writing for where the band is 2 years down the road, like thinking about maybe we want to go to this place musically from here, and then write to that, instead of maybe writing to where we are as a band at this moment, to maybe push it forward. And
we talk about that more and more, about like kind of the direction we want things to go in, and exploring the musical possibilities, because we have such a talented band that can do things.
Yeah.
Kind of expanding on our sounds a little bit. And there's kind of the omnipresent conversation of jamming more.
Yeah.
And we always go back and forth on, it was funny because initially I came from more of a jamming world than Jesse did. And I was always trying to encourage more jamming in our music, and he was kind of less receptive to it. But as the years have gone on and the band has really kind of defined our method, where we have these like complex arrangements, I've been less interested in jamming and more interested in these cool arrangements, Whereas now it seems like Jesse is more interested in jamming, and we sort of reversed roles a little bit. And now we're like arguing from different sides of the thing. But we do lately. That's been our theme: is that we're talking about writing more tunes that open us up for more improvisation, just because it's fun. But yeah, we've always kind of poo-pooed improvising just for the fact of improvising. Where it just comes across as like kind of noodling or whatever. We really enjoy our music having like direction and dynamic in that sense, which can happen in jamming as well. You just got to do it a lot.
Yeah, and it still needs to serve the song, and it still needs to serve the band, you know.
Well, exactly. And that's just it, is like serving the song is the most important. So that's what we found of like, instead of trying to deconstruct songs we already have and find a place to put a jam in it, let's write some new songs where it's already part of the element of the tune.
Yeah.
And also like we've conversed more in the sense of like, if we introduce jamming and more improvisation, we really want to come at it from more of a jazz school of jamming and improvising, where it's still very much everybody listening to each other and it being a living entity that involves what everybody's doing, as opposed to just like, okay, now here's like a 5-minute guitar solo.
Right. Well, everyone under that's just kind of going through the motions. Instead, there's interplay, and there's everyone's responding off of each other while it's happening.
Yeah, exactly. So it could take any various musical direction at any given time and be different every time.
You're gonna get to tour this very much?
Yeah, we're doing a bunch of shows to celebrate the release right now. We're actually touring with a woman named Sherry Ulrich, who's kind of a celebrated Canadian songwriter. She's won a bunch of Junos, which are Canadian Grammys.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got a pretty established following. So we've actually teamed up with her for our album release touring, which has been a lot of fun. We just had our first few shows last weekend, and the program of the show is she does a solo opening set. We jump up and join her for a few of her tunes. Then we come out, do our set. Dog attack.
That's all right.
And then Sherry, we do our thing for a while, and then Sherry jumps back up and joins us for a couple more, and then we do a couple more to close the show. So it's a real kind of collaborative event, which is a lot of fun. That's
awesome.
And we're doing shows from now right up into December, on again and off again sort of thing. It's going really well actually, and we really enjoy backing her up as a band too. It's a really fun band to be a backing band as a backing band for a singer-songwriter especially.
I've played in bands over the years that have worked with the same core unit, and there have been times where we've played with we backed up other singers, and I think it brings out a different side to the band that we didn't know before. And I would imagine it does that for you guys too. You like finding new strengths or finding new ways to play as a band when you're playing someone else's material.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we were talking about it. It's an interesting dynamic change because, like, often I'm kind of the de facto front person of the band, as I'm singing all the tunes and I'm up front, I'm leading. But when I'm stepping back now, it's like we're all just kind of on equal footing as side members, or however you want to put it.
Yeah.
Which makes it kind of fun in a way, because it's a very different way of supporting each other musically. There's not one person that's out front putting the energy that everyone else is backing. We're all just kind of working together to create like a cohesive whole.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it was a lot of fun for me in that sense to just feel more anonymous in the band, and get to stretch out, and do our thing with the arrangements. And it's fun to take their tunes and Sherry's tunes and do our thing that we do to them, and tear them apart and see how can we make this super interesting and epic and fun. And yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I'll have to. I'll check out her music. I'll admit I'm not familiar with her music, but I will definitely check it out.
Yeah, there's her most popular tune is It's a tune called Flying. It was fairly popular back in the day. Really beautiful song. She's a knockout singer and songwriter. Really, really good stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So the new album is dropping October 17th. Is it going to, you releasing it to all the various places to find music these days?
Yep, exactly. All the onlines. We're getting CDs and vinyl pressed as well. So that can be available on the website, and we might get some in some local stores. We're not quite at a national distribution level yet. But as far as the States goes, going to the world of bluegrass, the IBMA was our first real performances down in the States, which went really well. Everybody there knew Jesse because he was a prominent fixture in the scene for about a decade in the bluegrass world. So everywhere we went, he was bumping into an old friend. But it was our break into the States, and so the whole greater goal of that was to start to get the band some recognition south of the border, so we could start touring in the Pacific Northwest region, California, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Colorado, and start getting out there. So we're looking to book some touring there in the next year in 2026. Which we're pretty excited about, especially there's not a huge market for what we do up here. There's a scene and we do well, but it's not the same as when we play down in the States where people kind of get it.
Yeah.
Up here, we're like a freak show. A good freak show. But it's like very shocking to a lot of people who don't really know bluegrass or music that well, or that kind of acoustic style of music. Yeah. There really aren't any bands that do what we do up here. So in one respect, it's really great because we stand out, but there isn't like a scene for it, whereas there's a scene for it down in the States. So we're excited just to get our name in the mix and become known as a band that does what we do,
Yeah. Well, I hope that when you play in the States, you'll be somewhere near where I am residing, so I can make the trip to come and hear you guys. Yeah,
absolutely. You're in St. Louis, you said?
Yeah, I'm in St. Louis, so not too far.
How far is that from Colorado?
I'll be honest with you. I've lived here for 3 years, and I feel like I feel like I moved here last week. So I don't know how far it is from anything except from Atlanta, because that's where I'm from.
Well, there's a lot of music happening in St. Louis, isn't there?
Yeah, big music scene here. There's and everything you want. Great jazz scene, and then everything in between. Yeah, it's really cool. And then, Chicago is just a few hours away, so it's pretty amazing what's accessible, in a very short amount of driving.
Oh my God, yeah. As just the small town Canadian boys, when we go down to the States, it always blows our minds. The sheer amount of people and music and events, and it's just everything is times 10, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's just, I feel like every town is becoming a big town. It's pretty nuts how busy everything is.
Well, and just the big reason we're starting to make this push is just logistically. Like, if you look at the math, like the next big city from Vancouver from us is Calgary in Alberta. And there's not really any towns in between. There's small towns, but there's no major towns. But there's smaller markets for sure, and there are gigs, but there's no big cities.
Right.
But in the distance, you could travel Vancouver to Calgary, which is probably less than a quarter the length of Canada. You could travel from where we are to LA, same distance, and there are more people between that distance than the entire population of Canada. So,
yeah, and then you can hit Seattle and Portland and all of Northern California, and
so in less than a quarter's distance of the entire country of Canada, you guys have our entire population crammed into that amount of space.
Wow.
So
That's
it's
crazy.
like, do we want to tour that way where it's like barren wastelands, or we could cover half the distance and see 10 times the amount of people,
Yeah. And the scene, the type of music that you play, the scene is happening in all of those cities. So yeah. Your music would resonate with those audiences really well.
Yes. So if anyone's listening, we're looking for a booking agent for the States.
For the States. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
If anyone knows anyone, they let you know, and you let us know.
That's perfect. You got it. That's it.
Yeah. I'm always love to be spending less time on my computer and more time on my guitar.
That's it. Yeah. I'm with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dylan, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you, and I love the music, love the band, and the album Fallen Angel, right? Releasing October 17th.
October 17th, and our first single, which is the title track, is out now. So you can have a listen wherever you find your music, and then full album's out in a couple weeks.
Excellent.
Yeah, man.
Well, best of luck, and I hope to see you in the States in 26.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. We'll try to make it over the Rockies.
That's right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck to you.
Yeah, good to meet you, man.
That's the Unfaithful Servants. Their title track, Fallen Angel, is out now, and the full album lands October 17th. Go spend it wherever you listen, and keep an eye out for tour dates. A huge thanks to Dylan for walking us through the band's origin, their recording journey with producer Adrian Dolan, and the trust that makes this band feel so alive on stage. If you enjoyed this episode, follow and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. I'm Brad, and this is The Bandwidth Tapes. You can find us on social media at The Bandwidth Tapes. See you next time.